rhythmic gymnastics, we often see kids being stretched like up to tears, like very heavily.
Question is, how do you become more flexible? Like, I know stretching, but are there specific types of stretches? Hey, hello, Anastasia, and welcome to this podcast.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yes, so without further ado, let's get into it. And I have a few questions that I'd like to ask you. And the first one is, so would you like to introduce yourself? Who are you? A bit of your background, and so forth.
I'm a contemporary artist, mostly based in movement, and so I'm based in Winnipeg, Canada. I've studied contemporary dance for now, I think, 25 years. And I'm also a contortionist and hand balancer, and I've done that for 11 years now. And so is I'm a circus coach. I have a lot of students who are from different disciplines, starting from pole and professional athletes, bodybuilders, contortionists themselves, dancers, yoga practitioners, and office workers. So yes, I love teaching, I love art, I love creation. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's quite a good grip. So I've noticed that on your Instagram page, you're very flexible. There's a lot of posts. And so have you always been this flexible, like since you were a child? Is it something genetic or is it something that you've developed like over time?
I have always been flexible naturally, yes, but the greater portion of my flexibility comes from practice and from training. Because especially to practice contortion safely and for many, many years until you're old, you really have to build strength to support your spine, your vertebrae, and to support this new gained range of motion. And so my coach was, my first contortion coach was Samantha Hollis, who is originally based here in Winnipeg as well. Then now she lives in Toronto. And then I've been taking classes with Surchma Bayamba. So she's a Mongolian contortionist, currently based in San Francisco. So over pandemic, I've started taking classes with her as well. So Mongolian-based technique is very much into strengthening and conditioning, and it encourages contortionists being like both bendy and strong. So I had to work greatly on strength portion of it, and surprisingly enough, in contradiction to like common belief, when you get stronger, you actually get more flexible, not vice versa. Depends on which muscles you strengthen. And so, so as I got stronger, I got to deeper bends, as triple fold, as rappel bend, as a marinella bend.
Yeah. So, but you do believe that some people are like genetically just more flexible than other people?
Yes, of course, there is this predisposition. It also depends on, how much collagen we have, kind of like inborn, or how much collagen our body keeps like throughout the years. I also think that you can greatly increase your flexibility with a better diet as well, like intake additional collagen and different supplements. But yes, generally genetics really play a big role. My mom was also a dancer, and so I remember old pictures of my mom doing chest dance at the beach, and she's never been a contortionist, but through dance she also worked on her flexibility.
Mm-hmm. So you come like from a family of like dancers or performers?
Yeah, my mom was a dancer and my dad was like mime, so he worked with circus and also did break dance. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so does it like matter when you start stretching, like at what age? Like, for example, if you start like when you're 7 or 10 and below, is it so that if that flexibility will sustain itself until you're an adult, even though you don't stretch? And if you start like age 25 or above, is it so that all the flexibility that you maintain at those ages when you're a bit older, it's like you can improve, but you have to keep on stretching like consistently in order to maintain that flexibility?
Mhm. That's a good question. I personally don't really believe in old school kind of training approach, which is like, in rhythmic gymnastics, we often see kids being stretched like up to tears, like very heavily by their coaches. I think this actually would create injury later on when they're adults. I myself did stretch, yes, as a kid since the age of 3. I've had all of the splits like just inborn, so I didn't even have to work on them. I did stretch more, like further, but never to the extent that someone would like, made me cry and things like that. And then eventually, when I grew up, I started stretching more and more. So I think it needs to be gradual. And I usually don't take students younger than age of 10 because they have to build their musculature and they shouldn't stretch intensely. The more so, I'd rather have them work on like their conditioning, especially for hypermobile kids. Like if you're already flexible, you don't need to work on more flexibility. You'd rather work on strengthening. It really depends on sort of like what's the body type. Some kids are super hypermobile, some kids are not that hypermobile. And so if you're like more towards the end of hypermobility, I would recommend strengthening and not really stretch that much until
Yeah.
you're 10 and older.
So you suggest that it's better for like a young child to develop their body like naturally, not like over intensely exercise until like maybe a certain age if they really are passionate about like I guess the sport or something.
I would say like there is like sort of basic level of flexibility that is more so natural to the body, or at least somewhat, right? When we're talking natural means different to different people. But I would say like, yeah, splits is okay to do, bridges are okay to do, are good to do, right? Because it keeps the fluids moving, it keeps the body kind of like conditioned for specific discipline if they're passionate about it. But let's say stretch and triple fold at the age of like less than 10 and more than that, further than that, it's a little bit dangerous because for the bands like that, they have to form huge amount of muscles, not to sit in the passive stretching, but actually actively going towards like deeper bends
Mm.
because there is a huge amount of compression that needs to be done through the spine, through the via strength, and not with the help of coach just pushing you into that.
Yeah. I think so too, because I feel like because I'm lucky that I wasn't those one of those people who got overstretched as I was young because I did start air acrobatics at a relatively like older age, but I saw that some of the children there they were already like they could do back, get their heads up to their
Yeah.
butt and do over splits, which is like fine if that's what they want, but then I also feel like over time I've realized that because I've stretched my spine so much. I don't know if it's something with the nerves, but like it's sometimes I guess I get like a headache every now and then. So then I took a break and I think it has something to do with like the overstretching, but that's
All right. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
a
Mhm.
different thing. But
Well, headache is pretty common. Like in classes, people do get headaches, but usually it is something that, a student would get like first months, and
yeah,
that's okay because neck muscles are overworking, so they're still working towards strengthening, and
yeah,
so pretty much the blood flow gets cut towards like the brain and all the
yeah,
nerves, and
because
so that creates the headache, right? But then as soon
yeah,
as muscles are strong enough, they don't have to tense up so much to do the same amount of work. So
yeah,
then they just, work normally and you stop getting headaches over
yeah.
time.
But I'm not sure like I'll probably talk with another like like a doctor or something on this podcast like later in the following months
Right?
because I don't know if like overstretching the spine or something has something to do like is it connected to like your vision or not? Because then there was a time when like my vision like kind of started deteriorating, but it's like back to normal. It's like okay now, but I'm not sure. But Back to the next question is how do you become more flexible? Like, I know stretching, but are there specific types of stretches such as like static stretch, active stretch, and any other like secrets? Like you said, diets, maybe specific workouts that
Mhm.
will, improve flexibility.
Well, I would say the first secret is time. Time meaning that you really have to warm up very well to kind of like open your full potential. Because a lot of times, like people, especially like students, when they just come to the first like class, they're getting surprised of how much flexible they are already, so they have never thought they actually can do that just because they have never warmed up for that long. So the warm up needs to be lengthy, and so muscles are kind of getting used to like being stretched, and so then they can show the full potential. So long warm ups. Then I'm an advocate for active stretching versus passive stretching. So even when, although I do like partnering stretches, so when a coach stretches me, right, it might seem like it's a passive stretch, but in reality, let's say like Samantha pulls me like with my arms up and pushes into my legs. At the same time, when she does that, I actually resist. I push like towards the stretch as well. So the whole body is engaged. It's not that I'm sitting in the stretch. I'm actively helping her to stretch me. And so that is active stretch. So even the deep stretch, which involves engagement in the muscles, instead of just releasing into the stretch and letting it sit there. So that's what I think really helps you to go even further eventually, and improve it like a lot. Well, talking about back bend specifically, we should not forget about all the areas that we have to work on, right? So starting from the shoulder mobility, and neck and thoracic area, lumbar spine, and hip flexor. So all of that kind of like invests into a deeper back bend in general. And talking about diet, yeah, I would say I'm not really an advocate into like strict diet and again old school kind of approach, right? It needs to be healthy first of all, but specifically you can add some sort of supplements for the food as collagen powder with L-lysine, so that would help you to just stay to help your joints to recover from practices, and well, also it's good for your skin and all the beauty benefits side of that. But yeah, first of all, it's really helpful for joints. We should not forget about that. And of course, protein. Yeah, that's
Yeah. I've also like figured out that I'm starting to like partner stretches more because I feel like there are certain things, especially if you have like a partner who's experienced as well, like a coach or something who's stretching you, they will know like what to do, like where to like what you to do right. So for example, if somebody when I first started like aerobatics and I wasn't that experienced,